السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So today I wanted to end our 7 days of Mindful Ramadan series by protecting everything we've talked about. That we've talked about some beautiful ways to be mindful, and we wanted to see how we are able to, once we are striving and accumulating all that beautiful deeds in terms of having more taqwa, becoming more mindful, becoming more grateful, and turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we also are able to protect that all these beautiful things. We're able to go out of Ramadan without losing any of them. And this is signified in the statement that the person who doesn't have any control on their tongue, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need. The person who is lying, person who is backbiting, person who is doing those things, Allah is not in need of their fasting only from the food and drink. So this is where we really see the essence. The essence of Ramadan is building the mindfulness of Allah, that we're actually overcoming our desires, our temptations, and our ego. And the ego part, while desires and temptations are one thing, beyond that, when we go to the ego, that is where the struggle is real. That how do we strive against the ego? So I was reflecting on that, what are some ways that I may have slipped, and what are some ways that I can try to protect my good deeds for the rest of Ramadan, inshallah. So we go out of Ramadan in a way that we are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy with us. Like Allah loves those who have taqwa, muttaqeen, and the purpose of Ramadan is la'allakum tattaqun. Allah loves those who are grateful, and one of the purposes of Ramadan is la'allakum tashkurun, being grateful. And how do we get out of Ramadan becoming more mindful, becoming more grateful? By protecting our good deeds and also striving against our ego for the rest of the Ramadan. And this is something that is, the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us many beautiful ways. And one of those beautiful ways is not responding or not engaging in arguments. And we know this beautiful story of someone coming and cursing Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and Abu Bakr was being silent, and as long as he was silent, the Prophet ﷺ was sitting with him. When Abu Bakr, after a while, when he responded, the Prophet got up and left. Because as soon as the other person engaged, then the Prophet said the shaitan became present. Shaitan was there, and until then, the angels were there sending blessings on Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and protecting and responding on his behalf. So it is very important to understand that this concept of how do we strive against our ego, and it is very difficult to do. It's very difficult to do because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that you get triggered. Something happens and you get triggered, and you want to say something against someone, or you want to get into an engagement. You want to say something with your tongue. You want to backbite, and at that time, controlling your ego. That wal kadhimin al ghayz. Sometimes when you get angry, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the people, those people Allah loves. Allah is talking about those that are able to control their anger, and wal afina anin nas, and they forgive people. And see, the afina anin nas, it's also rooted from that same word that that the beautiful name of Allah is rooted, al-afu, that we say the last 10 nights, Allahumma innaka afuwun ghafurun kareem tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. That Allah, you love to forgive. And afu is beyond forgiveness, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only forgives, but Allah forgives in a way that Allah even makes the angels that wrote those down forget. That no one will ever mention it on the Day of Judgment. So afu is a beautiful thing, but if you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be afu, then we have to also, sibghatullah, we have to color ourselves in the color of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we also have to have that level of, we have to strive against your ego and just let go, just forgive, forget, and move on. And then what will happen? Because of what? Because Allah yuhibbul muhsin. Allah says at the end of the verse, Allah loves those who do good. Allah loves those people that control their anger and forgive other people. So for the love of Allah. So just keep saying that, yes, it is difficult, but I'm going to do it for the love of Allah, for the love of Allah. And this is a beautiful thing. Like my daughter, she's 8-year-old, and she was saying the other day that I like food too much to fast. I like food too much to fast. And I said, yes, when you're fasting, and she was practicing like half day. And I said, whenever you feel like going and eating or drinking, just say, I love food too much. I like food too much, but I love Allah more. And so it's important that, you know, we all love ourselves, but the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, love for the Prophet has to be more than our love for ourselves. And that's when we overcome our ego. And this is difficult to do. This is something we have to continue to strive for, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the وَلَمَنْ صَبَرَ وَغَفَرَ, those who have patience and those who have forgiven. إِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَمِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. Allah says that this is definitely from amongst those deeds that requires a lot of determination. عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ, like it requires a lot of determination. So you're determined, once you're determined to strive, you know, overcoming your ego. Now, like, give me the ability to practice this, because I know that I need this the most. That striving against the ego is such a difficult thing that you have to really set your eyes on Allah, and you have to say, I want to gain the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I'm going to do this. And Azmil Umur. And our Imam here in Valley Ranch, Sheikh Yasser Birjaz, he was saying, when he was mentioning this verse, something very beautiful. He says, he asked, who are the Ulul Azm, the prophets that had the highest level? And the Ulul Azm were, you know, Nuh alayhi salam, and Ibrahim alayhi salam, and Musa, Isa, and Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the best of all the prophets. And when you're doing these Azmil Umur, like you're being patient and you're forgiving, you're doing as if you're acting like those amazing prophets that had that high level of determination, that high level of striving. So you're just like those prophets. And that made me feel that, wow, if we can do this, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise us with the prophets. So it's a beautiful thing to practice, but it is definitely not easy. So I want to say that to control and overcome our ego, I'll give you some tool, and I'll leave you this last 7th day of mindfulness Ramadan, how to experience a mindful Ramadan. I will give you a tool, and I hope that helps. That the Prophet, that story of Abu Bakr, remember that when the person was cursing and Abu Bakr was silent, the angel was present. So that silence, we're talking about that silence and that sacred pause, like we discussed in one of the episodes. Viktor Frankl, one of the psychiatrists, psychologists, he said that between the stimuli, something that triggers you and you get upset, you get angry, and at that time you want to lose patience, you want to say something with your tongue. And between that stimuli and that your response, there is a pause, there is a space. And in that pause, in that space, lies your freedom and your growth. That we can be free of having to respond. We can be free to be compelled to take an action, because we have choice. We have a choice that how we want to react, when we want to react. And this is a beautiful thing that, you know, we take the power back in ourselves, that Allah has given us that ability to strive, that we have taken the power back and He said, I can change this. And I can take that pause. I can take that pause to reflect. So first and foremost, you stop and you have that silence. But there are a few other steps that I'll give you. That first, stop. And this is from my mindfulness training that we're doing. And stop, breathe, notice, respond, and reflect. So these are the 5 steps called SBNRR. SBNRR. Stop and just stop. And this is your sacred pause. If you don't remember any other step, just remember this step, that I need to stop, I need to pause, and I need to think about how I want to respond. So even that can help almost in all situations. And then right after stop, you breathe. Just breathe, relax, breathe in and breathe out. So breathing, what it does is it just reinforces that pause and it calms you down. It relaxes you. It reinforces your brain. So when you were breathing, our brain, the amygdala, which kind of like flares up when you're angry, when you're experiencing strong emotions, anger, sad, anxiety, all these strong emotions. The amygdala, when it flares up, your rational part of the brain, prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is like right behind your forehead, like when you are making sujood. The prefrontal cortex is what makes us human. That's how we're differentiating ourselves as human beings, because that prefrontal cortex is responsible for our executive functioning. We're able to think, we're able to have intelligent thinking, we're able to rationalize, we're able to make beautiful decisions. And that part of the brain gets deactivated. It's not able to work very well when our amygdala is flared up, like we get really angry. So when we breathe, we're relaxing the amygdala and we're oxidizing and we're giving the ability to the rational part of the brain to kick in. So stop and then breathe. And then third thing you do is notice. And this is this is part of being mindful, that you notice what emotions are you feeling. And I think we mentioned in one of the episodes that you are like a sky, and all the emotions that you feel are like the clouds. And so when the anger is passing by, you can be the sky and you can watch it pass. And when whatever emotions you're feeling, they don't define you, but they don't have to get carried away by them, but you can let them pass. You can let them pass. And this is the beauty of noticing, that you just sit down and notice, okay, what emotions am I feeling? And emotions is something that comes up and shows up in your body. So just pay attention to your body and see that what's happening. Faces getting red, and you're getting your muscles, your chest contracting, and you're feeling it in the neck and shoulder. You're starting to feel these emotions, and you realize, okay, I'm angry. When you do effective labeling, which is you label your emotions, automatically your brain starts helping you overcome that emotion. So we do effective labeling, and we notice. We have moment-to-moment notice. And then one more thing I want to say is that don't ever say, I'm angry. You are not angry. Instead, don't make it, like existential. Like, that's what I am. I am angry. You're not angry. You are a lot better. You are a lot bigger than angry. What you're doing, you're experiencing anger. So to go from existential, like I'm angry, to experiential, which is I'm experiencing anger. And we all as human beings experience anger. So stop, breathe, notice, and the next one is reflect. And this is where you're thinking about yourself and also about the other person. That where are we coming from? Where are we coming from? Am the emotions that are showing up in my body, is it because of a history I have? Is it because of some type of self-perceived thing about myself? What do I have? What type of history, what type of feelings do I have deep down? So noticing and thinking about, reflecting upon where your emotions are coming from. And then thinking about where is the emotion of the other person? Where is the action of the other person coming from? And at that time, think about this. That person that is getting upset or angry or making you really angry or really upset or making you lose that control on your tongue, that person wants to be happy. That person wants to be safe. That person wants to feel protected. And even though their action is manifesting in a way that is making you upset, is harming you, feel that it's harming you, oppressing you, you think through their lens, looking out at you, and think that they're doing it because they somehow think that it's going to make them feel safe or protected and happy, and all human beings want to do that. So having that level of empathy with the other person, I mean, that's only possible after you've stopped, you've gone through stop, breathe, notice, you're reflecting, and then now you're thinking about the response. And this is where you think that, how can I respond that have the most positive outcome? How can I respond that can have the most positive outcome? You don't actually have to do it, because sometimes you're so angry, like, man, I'm never going to be able to behave such nicely with people. That's not who I am. But don't worry about that. Just kind of visualize what could be the best response. What could be the most kindest response? You don't have to do it. Just visualize. What would that look like? What would that most kind, most positive response feel like and look like? And just visualize it. And then after you've gone through the steps, you have the tool now to think about what is the most practical but most effective way for you to respond, and when. So this is a beautiful tool that I have gained from my own mindfulness training, and I wanted to share with you. SBNRR, stop, breathe, notice, reflect, and respond. And we talked about why we're doing it, because Allah loves those who have patience and forgive others, and those who have patience and forgives others are those that task is as azmi al-umur. It's a highly determined. You have to be highly determined to do that, and we're highly determined for the love of Allah to go out of Ramadan in a way that we become more mindful of Allah, we become more grateful, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to practice and protect our Ramadan, and give us tawfiq to have a beautiful, blessed rest of the Ramadan. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for tuning in for these 7 days. May Allah bless you and bless all of us, accept all of these from us, and more than our saying and our listening, give us the ability to practice all of these things. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.